It comes without announcement in the night, a white and silent visitor to the grass. The world transformed before the morning light, each blade of green encased in frozen glass. The farmers rose and cursed and checked the stores. The children laughed and drew their names in white. The elders nodded, closed their longhouse doors, and said, "Now we prepare for winter's fight." The first frost is the year's most honest word, the harshest truth that summer's end has stirred. We slaughtered what we could not feed through cold, the salt barrels filled with autumn's sacrifice. The smoked fish hung in rows from rafters old, the root store packed with everything precise. Each family counted up its winter share and measured it against the months ahead. And those who found the numbers thin and bare were helped by those with something more instead. The village shares its surplus or it dies. Community is how the Viking survives. The hunting changed when frost had stiffened ground. The tracks more clear and white than mud before. The prey more desperate, easier to be found. The predator with sharper edge in store. We followed deer prints through the silver wood. The bow held steady in the frozen air, and what we caught in autumn turning good was meat enough to last the cold despair. The hunter's art is perfected in the frost, when ground speaks truth of what has passed and crossed. The children of the frost are hard and bright. They do not bruise as easily as south. They know the value of the fire's light and taste the sweetness of warmth in their mouth. Adversity is what the North provides, in generous and never-ending measure. It forges those who live within its tides into something harder than all treasure. The frost makes nothing soft and nothing weak. It makes the iron will the people seek. When old men feel the first frost in their bones, before the air outside has told the news, they sit inside beside their hearthstone thrones and let the warmth remind them what they choose. To live another winter cold and long, to watch the snow arrive and then depart, to add another verse to the same old song of survival written in the northern heart. The first frost is the year's most honest word, and those who hear it living are most stirred. He stands where rainbow meets the iron sky, where Asgard's gate looks out on all 9 worlds. His golden teeth flash bright as years go by, his Jallar horn still coiled in silver curls. He needs less sleep than any bird in flight. His hearing catches grass grow on the hill. He sees 100 miles through blackest night, and watches every threshold door and still. Heimdall waits for what he hopes will not come, the day when silence breaks and all goes numb. They say he fathered all of humankind. He walked among the mortals in disguise. He left his gifts in every class we find, in Thrall and Karl and Jarl beneath the skies. Each he gave a different kind of grace, the strength of arms, the wisdom of the mind, the beauty that adorns the noble face, and left his mark in all of humankind. Heimdall is the father of us all, from the highest hall to the lowest hall. He stole the necklace back from slippery Loki, 2 seals upon the ocean's rocky floor. The fight was fast and absolutely pokey, but Heimdall bore the Brising Garmin more. He brought it dripping back to Freya's door and laid it at her feet without a word. She clasped it round her neck as once before, and thanking with a glance that spoke not stirred. The watchman guards more than the golden gate. He guards the beauty of the world from fate. The horn has never sounded in our age. Its voice kept locked inside the coiled bronze. But those who listen to the wind's old rage can sometimes hear it echo in the ponds. A distant note that carries on the gale, a single tone that fills the hollow chest, a sound too large for any human scale, that stirs the deepest and the most at rest. The horn already sounds inside the brave, each warrior heart a horn before the grave. When Ragnarok's first footsteps shake the ground, when Loki breaks his chains and Fenrir wakes, when Surtur's fire begins its warming sound, then Heimdall lifts the horn for all our sakes. That note will reach from Midgard to the deep, from Hell's cold hall to Asgard's highest dome, and every warrior will shake off sleep and rise to fight the last and final home. The horn sounds once, and all the brave arise and meet their glorious end beneath the skies. The pass was 3 days up through snow and stone, a cut between the mountains barely wide, enough for 2 men carrying their own, to pass each other on the frozen side. We went in summer when the snow was thin, the rocks slick underneath with meltwater. The mountain goats observed us from within, their yellow eyes above the slaughter. The mountain pass asks everything of legs, and gives in return the view that never begs. At the summit we could see both worlds at once, the fjordland dropping west to silver sea, the forest spreading east, the land of hunts, and far between them everything could be. The wind up there made no accommodation, it hit from every side without a warning. It had no patience for our obstacles. observation, but we stood still despite the cold and scorning. The summit view is worth the burning leg. It puts the world in proper scale and peg. We carried everything on our own backs. No horse could manage what the past demanded. We learned the weight of everything in tracks of what was needed and what could be stranded. The iron we brought was worth the weight of pain. The food was rationed to the bare minimum. The furs we needed to return again, the rest was left behind as premium. The mountain pass teaches what truly matters by making you carry it till comfort shadows. Coming down the eastern side we found a people we had never seen before. Their language strange, their customs tight and bound in ways that we had never met before. We traded cautiously with signs and gifts. We showed our eye and they showed amber beads. We learned that every mountain summit lifts a veil between two differently shaped creeds. The mountain pass connects what oceans part. Two peoples finding commonplace in art. We crossed the pass 3 times in all those years. Each time the route familiar but not tame. Each time the summit met us with fresh fears. Each time the view was somehow not the same. The past does not repeat itself exactly. The mountain shifts with season, light and year. What seemed familiar proves itself inexactly and keeps the traveler humble and held clear. Cross the same mountain twice and learn this truth. The world renews itself in age and youth. He kept the sagas in a chest of oak. Each scroll of vellum wrapped in oilskin ties. Each story sealed against the smoke and soak, against the water and the winter night. He read them out on feast days to the hall. His voice adapted to the weight of each. The battle sagas rang against the wall. The love sagas found a softer, lower reach. The saga keeper is the village mind. He holds the past so those ahead can find. He traveled twice a year to other halls. trade the stories that they did not own, to bring back what was sung within their walls, and copy what was missing from his own. The sagas crossed the sea in leather bags. They traveled north and south and east and west. They wore themselves to near illegible rags on the long road from hall to distant nest. The saga travels further than the ship, on every tongue that takes its winter trip. He copied out the oldest ones by hand. When the vellum tore and crumbled into brown, his letters careful, steady, and well-planned, each stroke a preservation of renown. He said the copying was its own prayer. Each letter placed was honoring the dead. Each story saved was one more life laid bare for those not yet arrived to hear it read. The copyist performs the deepest rite. He gives the dead another chance at light. A fire took the hall one winter night. The flames consumed 100 years of wood. The saga keeper ran back toward the light and pulled the chest out further than he should. His hands were burned, his eyebrows gone in heat, but every scroll lay safe beneath the snow. He sat beside them in the cold defeat and wept the way a saga keeper should. The keeper burns his hands to save the word, for without words the dead cannot be heard. Now someone must take up the keeper's role. In every generation, every hall, someone with the patience and the soul to hold the stories up before they fall. The sagas are not history or art. They are the living breath of those now dead. They are the Viking heartbeat and the heart, the only resurrection of the dead. Keep the saga burning in your voice, and give the lost another living choice. The elders took the hall, the herd, the land. The second son received the sea and sword. No patch of earth would ever meet his hand. No harvest would be his to reap and hoard. But with the sea came something greater still, the absolute freedom of the wide unknown. No boundary, no fence, no winter hill that was not open sea and his alone. The second son inherits everything, the sea, the storm, the horizon's ring. He was the one who built the finest ship, who learned the stars more desperately than most, who needed every skill every trip, because he had no safety, hearth or coast. He pushed his crew beyond the charted ways. He took the risks the firstborn never took. He filled the blank and empty ocean's days with everything his brother never shook. Desperation makes the finest sailors. The man with nothing loses fewer failures. He found the lands that no map named before. He planted flags on shores no Norse had seen. He traded where no Viking went before, and carved his name across the places clean. His elder brother kept the same old land, the same old hall with same old smoke and stone, while he reshaped the world with open hand and made the whole wide ocean his to own. The second son outgrows the first domain. The sea gives back far more than pasture grain. In his old age he built a hall at last, not on the land he'd lost to older blood, but on a cliff above the sea's wide mast, where he could hear the tide against the mud. His children born from 3 different shores, his grandchildren of colors never named. He watched them grow and opened all his doors, and never for a single moment shamed. The second son builds larger than the first, for he who starts with nothing has the thirst. So if the world has given you no ground, no hall, no herd, no guaranteed estate, know that in the empty there is found the only place that truly can be great. You have the necessity to move. The sea is yours through every rise and falls, and everything you earn is yours to prove. The second son becomes what he must be, a man made whole by storm and open sea. They called him Orm, the serpent on the sea, for no man ever crossed the wave as fast. His longship seemed to move like it was free of water's pull, of wind, of mast and past. He read the ocean like a written page, each swell a sentence, every current line. He navigated by an older sage than stars or sun, the sea's own deep design. The Serpent King moves through the water skin, as if the sea itself had let him in. He took his first ship out at 14 years, a borrowed vessel crewed with doubtful men. He brought them all back safely through their fears, and never borrowed anyone's ship again. He built his fleet from every raid's return, each new ship longer, faster, fiercer made, each hull a lesson learned from what would burn, each bow a new iteration of the trade. The shipbuilder learns from every previous run, each vessel better than the former one. His enemies called him the sea-born ghost, for he appeared and vanished in the mist of fog and dawn, and what the sea loved most, the hour when direction is dismissed. He struck at the impossible approach, the cliffside landing in the darkest night. The shallow ford no other dared encroach, the angle every other ship thought tight. The Serpent King finds every weakness through the path no other captain ever knew. Old age found him not slow, but rather still, a stillness of the man who needs no more, who has already bent his iron will against everything the sea has kept in store. He sat beside the ships he'd built and loved, and watched the young men take them out to sea, and felt the satisfaction of one shoved by time into a peaceful reverie. The Serpent King at rest is something rare, a man who fought the ocean fair and square. They buried him inside his greatest ship, the one he'd built at 50, proud and long. They sealed him in with furs and amber grip, and let the fire take him with a song. The serpent ship became the serpent grey, the sea received what sea had always made, and Dawn returned to where the currents gave the water borne back to the blue cascade. The Serpent King goes back into the deep, where serpents and the whale road always sleep. is a ship that sails the outer dark, beyond the edge of every charted lane. Its hull is black as coal without a mark, its sails sewn from the absence of the main. No crew is seen aboard its open deck, no lantern hangs to guide it through the night. No oar breaks water, nothing on the neck of the prow, nothing catches any light. The black ship sails itself toward its aim, and no one who has followed it came back to claim. 3 sailors from our village saw it once, at the horizon's very edge at dusk. They pointed and they argued for the months about the meaning of its blackened husk. One said it was the ship of Odin's dead, returning to the place where spirits go. One said it was a warning to be read against sailing past the boundary low. The third said nothing, only watched it sail, and died the following winter, thin and pale. The helmsman who assailed the outer edge says nothing waits beyond the world's last rim, that those who push beyond the final edge find the same sea stretching dark and dim. But even he grew quiet when we asked about the black ship seen at evening's gate. His usual confidence half unmasked, he said some things you simply contemplate. The best helmsman keeps a silence about some things. The deep sea holds a mystery that stings. Perhaps the black ship is the self at last, the part of us that sails beyond control, the piece that slips the anchor of the past and moves towards something larger than the whole. We all contain a vessel in the dark that pulls toward the horizon of the deep, that cannot be extinguished like a spark that we have tried and failed to put to sleep. The black ship is the soul's own restless keel that will not stop for anything we feel. Do not pursue the black ship if you see it. Let it sail past and keep your own course true. The ones who chase the darkness darkness will not free it. The darkness only swallows those who pursue. But know that it exists, that something vast moves through the waters of the world at night. That not all mystery is meant to last inside the comfortable circle of the light. The black ship sails for all of us one day, and on that day we simply sail away. Of all the battles is at sea, where footing shifts and everything is wet, where there is nowhere any man can flee, and death comes wrapped in wave and cold and net. We lashed our ships together side by side, and made a platform out of enemy oak, and fought across the hulls through crashing tide, through rigging sail and every broken spoke. The sea battle is the purest test of all, for there is nowhere left to stand or fall. The arrow storm came first before the clash, a black and singing cloud of iron death. We raised our shields and heard the woody crash of shafts above us, close enough to breathe. Then came the grappling hooks to drag us near. The ropes pulled tight and ships ground hull to hull. The moment all the fighters held most dear, when battle went from tense to overfull. The grappling hook is the battle's wedding ring. It binds two ships in one last reckoning. I fought a man across a broken mast. We balanced on the timber, wet and round. The sea below us waited and aghast for one of us to slip without a sound. His axe was heavier, his reach was wide, but I was lighter, faster on the beam. I ducked beneath his swing and stepped inside, and ended what had started like a dream. The sea fight teaches balance above all. The one who keeps his feet avoids the fall. By noon the water around our ships ran red, the hulls so soaked they barely stayed afloat. counted those who stood against our dead, and found the numbers barely worth a note. We threw the enemy over without pause. The sea received them in its endless way. We did not linger over what the cause, but bailed the blood and headed for the bay. The sea battle ends in silence and in bale. The survivor rose home without a tale. That night we slept without removing arms. The sea could hold more enemies below. We kept the watches through the dark alarms, and spoke little of the blood-stained show. Some battles leave a mark that sleep won't clear. The sound of hull on hull, the waves so dead. The way the sea took everything without fear. The way it cleaned away what we had shed. The sea battle is remembered without pride, only with the quiet of those who survive. Gathered at the water's foaming edge, before the oars were shipped and anchors raised. Each man made his own particular pledge to gods and kin and everything he'd praised. The helmsman spoke the words for all to hear. He called on Thor to keep the storm at bay, on Yor to hold the current open clear, on Odin's ravens guiding every day. The whale-rowed prayer is older than the ship. It steadies every hand and every grip. He poured the mead across the prow's carved tongue, the dark red liquid running to the sea. He sang a verse his own great father sung, a melody as old as being free. The crew stood silent with their heads bent low, not out of weakness but of honest weight, of knowing what the open water knows, that nothing on the sea is ever fate. The prayer is not a guarantee of life, it is the gathering before the strife. My father prayed each morning on the deck, a private conversation, low and clear. He'd press his hand against the dragon neck and speak of things he'd never let us hear. I asked him once what he said to the wood. He smiled and said, I thank it for last night, and ask it for tomorrow if it would. He said, the ship decides, not me, what's right. The sailor prays to ship as much as God, for both decide the path across the road. The whale road stretches past all human sight. It holds more death than any battlefield, more cold, more dark, more absolute midnight than any enemy with sword and shield. And yet we pray to cross it, not in fear, but in the spirit of the grateful guest, who knows the ocean lets us travel here, and earns our deepest and most honest best. The whale road prayer names what cannot be named, the vast indifferent sea that leaves us claimed. Pray for those who sail without return, who spoke their words and pushed the prow to foam, whose lanterns on the water still burn, somewhere between the going and the home. The whale road takes them but does not forget the prayer they spoke against its cold embrace. Those words still travel on the current, yet still finding the divine in open space. The whale road prayer echoes past the grave and speaks the name of every Viking brave. She knew the yarrow from the frozen field, the willow bark that cooled the raging heat, the mushroom circles that the forest sealed, the moss that kept a wound from its defeat. While men brought glory home in iron and blood, she brought the living back from fever's edge. She worked the herbs into a saving mud, and kept the village from the burial ledge. The healer saves more lives than any blade, with knowledge earned, not given nor displayed. She learned from watching first and asking then, from women older, sharper, gone before, who passed the knowledge on to willing men, and women who would carry and restore. The apprenticeship of healing took 5 years, 5 winters learning what each plant could give, 5 summers earning trust through patience, fears, until she knew enough to let them live. The healer's art demands a decade's debt before the hand is ready and well set. They brought her warriors broken from the field, men too far gone for any prayer to find, who'd given everything and would not yield, but left their living body behind. She worked through nights without a break for sleep. She cleaned and sewed and drained and wrapped and held. She bargained with the death that stalked the deep, and sometimes won back what the darkness felt. The healer fights the night-long battle too, against the death that comes for those she knew. She could not save them all and knew it plain. The ones too far, the wounds too deep and wide. She learned to hold her hands against the pain and walk with them part way to the other side. The skill of letting go is learned the hard, through watching what no herb and no art says, through keeping vigil in the final yard, between the living hall and winter graves. The healer learns the limit of her art, and finds the grace to tend the breaking heart. Name her beside the warriors in the song, the woman with the willow and the knife. She fought a different battle all day long, and gave the village back its daily life. For every man who swung the axe and came back home to tell a story at the feast, the healer's hands had worked without a name, to make the return possible at least. The healer's name belongs beside the brave. She kept as many warriors from the grave.